Nearly every ancient wisdom tradition agreed on one thing: that suffering begins when we argue with reality. Across ancient cultures, across centuries, people arrived at the same insight. Life doesn't break us. Our resistance to what is does. They understood something that we've forgotten: that reality doesn't negotiate. Storms don't pause because we dislike them. Loss doesn't rewind because we protest. Time doesn't stop because we're not ready. Acceptance was never about giving up. It was about aligning with truth instead of fighting it. All that inner tension, the wishing, the replaying, this shouldn't have happened, that's where your energy was leaking. Now, acceptance doesn't mean that you like what happened. It means that you just stop bleeding energy over things that you can't change. From that place, clear action becomes possible. Wise action, not reaction. Acceptance is how humans have always reclaimed their power, by standing in reality and not running from it. When you stop fighting what is, you finally find the strength to shape what happens next.
Now we will do some reflection. There are 3-4 questions on which we will reflect. So question number 1 is, what in this touched me? What in this touched me? Where do I know but still don't live? What feels risky in true living? Or we can put this in that. Why do I feel fearful in true living? And the important question, what do I protect? Do not comment, do not speak. This is the time for inner digestion. And if something your personal moved or became visible, you may like to share honestly the real experience, the true experience, without any philosophy, without any advice. For example, I hear fear of being seen, or I hear tiredness of holding back. Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. Namaste. Good evening, everyone. So, to answer your first question, the most beautiful thing which we study, we know is suffering begins when we resist. This really touched me, and this is something that, in fact, my whole day went into reflection of this. Something has happened which has never happened before. I've since a long time not liked being sick. today a report of mine came which actually shocked me. I became, my report was I'm COVID positive. I did not even get COVID, and there was COVID. And I have something really important to go for tomorrow. At first, it really, it shook me up, and how can this happen with me? And then, of course, there was a turmoil. But the best thing is, when we are connected with, people like you, sir, and, all the philosophies that we keep reading, I think it just got me back. It got me back to, okay, now this has happened. What can I do about it? Why am I resisting what has happened? There must be a higher reason for whatever has happened. And I let go. And the minute I told myself, okay, Neha, you have to allow it, you don't resist it. Whatever has to happen will happen, and it will happen for a good reason. So just accept what has happened and do what is required to do. And the minute I was able to accept it, I was able to let go of fear of, oh my God, what will happen if I don't go there tomorrow? And now I'm at peace and I'm at complete ease and I'm ready to flow and accept whatever will happen. So yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
That's so amazing. Great.
Namaste, everyone. So I agree with Neha's point that when we resist change or anything in life, when we get in the flow, put obstacles in the flow, that's when suffering starts. And that is to do with our beliefs. That we have conditioning. There are certain ways that we have done things. And if I just talk about myself, there are certain ways that I have done certain things, and I believe that to be the right way. And that was successful. Then I interact with somebody else who does things in a different way. And it could be just very simple things like, making vendor payments, arriving somewhere on time, uh, talking in a certain way, you know. And let's say for me, reaching my training venue 1 hour ahead of time, it's very important to me. And if I don't, then I just feel out of control, and I feel like that's not the right thing to do. So that is my belief that that's how things should happen. And when someone challenges it or something gets in the way of that, that's when suffering begins. That's when anxiety happens and fear happens and sense of loss comes up. So yeah, that's when suffering comes. And what we fear is fear of failure. Like, this is when we put too much premium on something, like this is a really, really important meeting for me, so it has to go right. And if it doesn't go right, then oh my God, what is going to happen? So I think it's all going in the head. But the same thing, if we can just take it easy and lightly, it's with whatever is the outcome, it will happen. Let me do my best. Then we are more relaxed and we can, I think, work better. That's all I have to say.
Okay. These things are so deep that the more you go deeper, the more you see. Yes.
Yeah, I think it's also when you're a child, you sort of have embedment thoughts, or how would you say, you've been taught by your parents how to behave, how to respond, and stuff like that. So For example, in those days, we never used to say boo to our parents, right? We used to do whatever they told us to do. These generations, they don't. They've got a mind of their own. So in a way, it's good that they are standing up for themselves while we didn't and we don't. So it's like childhood traumas embedded into yourselves. And I used to fear quite a lot because I stayed with my aunt and uncle when I was studying because my parents had a shop in Africa, which was just one shop on its own. The nearest town was about half an hour away from us. And my aunt used to live in the proper town. So I only used to see them at the weekend. And I realized that when my parents came to see us, my aunt used to sort of have to lock us up. And that fear was embedded in me for a very, very long time. And sort of I was having nightmares and stuff like that. It's only about a couple of years ago when I started journaling, why am I feeling like that? Why am I scared about everything? That I found my pattern. Okay, that's what it was, what was bothering me. And I started journaling and started meditating and stuff like that. And I'm sort of free from that. And I realized that whatever people say to me or whatever they say or do or action, whatever action they take, it doesn't bother me anymore. So I just say to myself, whatever, I'm not going to react, especially since your last session. I don't do it anymore. So
That's
thank
so
you, Guruji.
that's
Thank
so
you so much.
that's so good to hear. And I'm glad that you're smiling and sharing your heart and you have started journaling and this really helped you. Great.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
हाँ नमस्ते गुरुजी। तो ये जो मैंने पढ़ा है कि सुना कि सफरिंग स्टार्टेड व्हेन यू आर आर्ग्यू विथ रियलिटी नॉट अलाइनिंग विथ रियलिटीज। तो फिर मुझे ध्यान आया कि हाँ हम लोग बहुत सी छोटी छोटी बातों में भी हम आर्ग्यू करते हैं। जैसे मैं एक एग्जांपल दे रहा हूँ, जैसे हम कहीं जाने वाले थे।
यूं कहें कि हम आर्ग्यू करते हैं,
हाँ जैसे
बातें हो जाती हैं थोड़ी सी।
हाँ जैसे छोटी सी बात, हम जाने वाले, बारिश आ गई, अरे बारिश क्यों आई, ऐसा हो गया वैसा हो गया। तो मैं ऐसे ही ध्यान कर रहा था कि हम वो छोटी सी बात पर ठीक है, आगे हम देखेंगे हम कैसे क्या करेंगे, पर उसमें भी हम 10 मिनट तक आर्ग्यू करते रहे कि बारिश इस समय आनी नहीं चाहिए थी। तो वो स्ट्रेस का प्रॉब्लम है कि इतनी छोटी सी बात जिसमें कोई इम्पैक्ट नहीं कर रहा है लाइफ में, तो भी हम आर्ग्यू करते हैं। तो ये ऐसा
एक्चुअली जितनी छोटी बात होती है उसी में आर्ग्यूमेंट होती है, क्योंकि बड़ी
हम्म,
चीज में आर्ग्यूमेंट नहीं होती। कभी भी नोटिस करना है, एंड व्हेन यू स्टार्ट नोटिसिंग स्मॉल थिंग्स,
हम्म,
देन समथिंग हैपेंस। Okay, those who have not spoken, I invite you all to come and share your mind. You know, it really takes courage to think on these things. We are so conditioned to think about irrelevant things. We are so conditioned about thinking where we can find the moments to argue, to resist. But these things really require proper attention. So that's why it is called deep work. Who's gonna come next? Yes, Vedant.
Hi, so Jai Gurudev to all. In fact, I was opting to not to speak, but आपने जब एक specific line बोला that most of our arguments happen on very small things, not on bigger things. And I was just contemplating on that कि if you actually look into it, it is actually very true कि आपके जो भी झगड़े होते हैं, it happens on the minutest of things. And that is also because of the point that sometimes we tend to put our energy or our thoughts into something so small, which might not matter, but just for the sake of it, we get involved with it. And I think that's the reason why we see that in most of scientists or in most of top CEOs and all, where their work is of attention to detail, but they put that same thought process and approach into normal relations, and that's the reason we see so many divorces in that. So probably we invest our time. I would say we spend our time on those minutest of things which actually do not matter, and we let go of the bigger things in life. So that was actually very true that the line that you mentioned, that most of the arguments happen on very small things, not on the bigger ones.
Thank you. And in fact, the other day, someone was asking me that anything I would like to advise. I simply said I don't advise unnecessarily, and it is of no use if I advise you because you may not agree. But still, if you insist, I say that try to understand yourself. And as we already discussed in our previous sessions, the pause. That's really very helpful. And the gap between knowing and doing is nothing but just a pause. I've seen many people on the road when you ask, कि यहाँ पे जाना है. Even if they don't know, they will say, go left. So I've corrected so many people. In front of them, I've opened Google Map and I said, कि रास्ता तो इधर जाता है. Then they say, oh, okay, हमें पता नहीं था. Then I gave 10-minute lecture so that they won't behave like this in future. So sometimes we just speak because we are conditioned to speak, not from that space, but just we feel like opening the chatterbox and we just simply speak. But that pause is missing in life. So let's take a moment, close your eyes, and notice and ask yourself what happens when I see myself that I know this intellectually, but I am unable to do, unable to perform. What happened within? How do I feel? Do I ignore? Because we have mastered this act to ignore our faults, our miseries, our sufferings, our greediness, our controlling behavior, and all the things which are not serving me. We are very good to and very perfectly we have mastered to ignore. So, do I ignore or do I really notice? And how do I feel about it? Feel the sensations, feel the emotions. What happens within mentally, psychologically? And once you're done, you can open your eyes and write in the comment whatever came to you. Because some processes need time. Once you're done, you may start writing in the comments. So the question was, we know so many things, but there is a knowing and doing gap. What we know, we do not perform, we do not do. And many times we ignore our faults, our flaws, what are the things which really need improvement. So one option is to ignore, and if we are courageous enough, ready enough to look into it, how do I feel about it? And what happens within mentally, psychologically, physically? What sensation arises? How do I feel about it? So basically, you already know more than you are living. And that gap between knowing and doing, that is suffering. We have so much knowledge because we are tend to experience comfort in gaining knowledge. And living that demands courage. And the tendency of mind is to love what it knows because knowing changes nothing. And if knowing was enough, humanity would already be enlightened. But this is good. I had high fever for last 2 days, but this morning I made up my mind that I have to attend today's session, even if I only listen to others. Environmental mess doesn't let us do what we know, and some people in our surroundings drain our energy. I like less noise, but life doesn't work noiseless. Actually, life doesn't work noiseless. It is good because then we value the silence. Then we value what real noiselessness means. Suppose if everything is noiseless, then noise would be the priority. Because life is paradox. Where I have the flu. Oh my God. As well, it's very cold and raining here non-stop for a couple of days. It's good that we all are sitting online. When I hear people say, I know the performance shows something else troubles me. Last session of pause once every time in my mind. The last session of pause runs every time in my mind. I hope in actions as well. We have to do the work which we know and take the challenge. Risk of what we don't know the outcome will be. Congratulations to Neha. You're perfectly fine now. Good. Now, when people came here, they were different and now they're different. Good. That's a good sign. I think everybody is all right now. Great. The truth understood does not liberate. Truth lived does. So we must start practicing, not thinking about what truth is, but how to live. And there is so much complexity in the mind that the mind constantly asks, am I doing right? Am I doing right? what to do, what not to do. So there is a tendency of mind to always ask, is this right? But life asks, are you available? Mind says, is this right? And life asks, are you available? To live means stepping out from your comfort zone. Till the time you are in that comfort zone, there is constant fear, anxiety, and restlessness. Because we don't know what will happen. And that not knowing creates insecurity. But there's a great joy to experience insecurity. You know, many times when I travel, I don't plan where to go. I never book any place, hotels, or nothing. Because there are so many birds, there are so many creatures in this existence, they don't plan. So since childhood, I was so curious how to live that way. But due to societal pressure, tendency, family members used to plan. But I had this thing in my mind that once I take full control of my life, I will live in such a way that will be totally a life without control. And when we don't control, there is a different energy or different force that works. So one has to come out of that comfort zone. And for that, you need confidence in yourself. Fear comes in between, and that fear becomes very, very strong, and it immediately attacks your mind. And then mind says, what if this happened? Then in every sentence, you will say, what if? And the more we say, what if, we miss the opportunity to experience, now what? What if, and now what? We say, what if, but existence says, what now? So when we are out of the comfort zone, it's a bold step, of course. And it is not for everyone. I will not advise you to do that because everybody is different. Don't go by what I'm saying. Think about it. Because if you start living by the way I'm saying, then you will be in trouble. Because every moment I invite trouble in my life. And I enjoy it a lot. Maybe you won't. So my life is 24 hours at risk. Because I enjoy it. I love to live dangerously. Because there is a great sense of adrenal rush. And when you become witness of that adrenal rush, that itself is a meditation. So that's why 24 hours I'm in that meditative state. So don't try this, otherwise you will end up doing meditation. Beware of this. Okay. So I think enough for today. From knowing to living, and I'm not saying living dangerously, just living. All right. So this week there is a suggested exercise. So this week, don't try to change anything. Let's take a step ahead to live beyond boundaries, to live beyond comfort zone. And this week, don't try to change anything. Just notice where you know and where you don't live. And while noticing, don't judge yourself. Just knowing is enough, because that knowing is very important. And maybe you will notice something. And knowing doesn't hurt us. Living asks us to be vulnerable. So it's okay to be vulnerable. Okay, so let us end our today's satsang. And before that, let's take a moment and close your eyes and sit in silence. And feel this space, a sacred space where consciously we all are sitting together. And be here in this moment. Inhale and exhale gently and deeply. And now just mentally affirm, may we have the courage to live what we already know. May our need to protect slowly dissolve. May we trust life a little more than our fear. And may love find us before the mind interfere. And may we walk gently with ourselves and with others. Feel the strength in you and feel the strength collectively in this sacred space. Sense of togetherness, holding each other together. All right, gently. You can rub your both the palms, put it on your face, and with a very gentle smile, you can open your eyes and share this smile with everyone. Some processes need time, space, and continuity, as we all are together in this weekly satsang, which opens the door. And for those who feel ready to go deeper into living, not knowing, we are also, as discussed 2 weeks prior, we are holding a retreat in Rishikesh. Only 5 seats are there now. 15 people have already blocked the seats. So this is for those who wish to go quiet in noiselessness from the noise. All right. So with this, let us end our today's satsang. Thank you so much. May you all be happy and blessed. Thank you.